Love thy neighbor as thyself has become the new don't judge me. Don't tell anyone what to do. And I was most surprised this week to hear Mike Pence.
You live while you live. I may not agree with decisions you make, but we'll love you and love our neighbor as ourselves, as my faith requires, right? But
today I want to talk about how to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Welcome to Morning Tea. Hi, I'm Joanne, Jolee, and if we haven't met, I offer a sip of inspiration and encouragement to lift your spirit wherever you are on your faith journey. We've gotten into awful trouble buying into this misunderstanding of love thy neighbor, as we've most recently seen used by Mike Pence to support legal protections for transgender surgeries. When the Jewish experts in the law tested Jesus on which is the greatest commandment, he said, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment." Jesus was quoting from the Torah in Deuteronomy, but then he added, "The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." The second commandment Jesus quoted also comes from the Torah, along with a list. It's a long list of ways that you can show love for your neighbor, and we have. Helping the poor from our means. There's a lot of don'ts. You don't steal, you don't deal falsely, you don't lie or cheat or rob or curse or cause to stumble or judge unjustly or gossip about or hate, and then rebuke your neighbor frankly so you will not share in their guilt. Now, this part of the Torah passage is the missing piece in our understanding of what loving our neighbor is all about. Turn it around for perspective. If you don't rebuke your neighbor, you are sharing in their guilt and you hate them. The full verse is, "Do not hate a fellow Israelite in your heart. Rebuke your neighbor frankly so you will not share in their guilt." And what is it that we are told to rebuke or reprove? Sin. We are told to reprove them when they sin. And I really love the way John Wesley puts it. If we love our neighbor as ourselves, this will be our constant endeavor to warn him of every evil way and of every mistake which tends to evil. John Wesley led a major revival in England in the 1700s. And since we are in so desperate need of revival in our land, and we have failed to love our neighbors by reproving them for their sin, hear him out further. "I have never heard or read of any considerable revival of religion which was not attended by a spirit of reproving. I believe it cannot be otherwise, for what is faith unless it worketh by love? Come, brethren, in the name of God, let us begin again. Rich or poor, let us all arise as one man, and in any way wise let every man rebuke his neighbor and not suffer sin upon him." I'll put a link to his full sermon below so you can see how he goes into depth with when and how to go about reproving in a variety of circumstances. We might think negatively of that word rebuke. We might imagine angry confrontations, but it can and should be done very gently, speaking the truth in love, helping, reminding. And of course, in our culture of so-called tolerance, many aren't going to respond very well to being told anything they don't like. And sometimes we don't cast our pearls before swine who might turn on us and tear us to pieces. But we can lovingly reason with our neighbors. Love is not rude, it rebukes, it can be soft in the moment. It's really important. Say, for example, you're with a family member who launches into gossip about someone, and our rebuke could be similar to, "I doubt we have all the facts here, so let's not go down that path and talk badly about so-and-so." Unfortunately, we have stopped reproving our neighbors and our own families, which are our closest neighbors. We say and do nothing when, for instance, our children live immorally and they behave badly. We have to reprove them with humility, with gentleness. Maybe our reproof will save their lives, save their souls. Perhaps it'll be the start of a national revival. The next important question is, who is my neighbor? When Jesus was asked that question, he answered it with the story we know as the parable of the Good Samaritan. A man was attacked on the street. He was robbed. He was left for dead. You have a priest and a Levite who saw him and passed by on the other side of the street. But it was a Samaritan who took pity, and from his means, he got the man bandaged up. He took him to a safe place to convalesce. And then he followed up the next day. He went beyond with additional funds, and he made sure that that man was being cared for properly. Of the three, the neighbor is the one who showed mercy. In this case, the wounded man was in the vicinity of the Samaritan. If the man had been a Jew, because of their cultural and religious differences, he would not have had any association with a Samaritan, because Jews held them in disdain. Loving thy neighbor in this picture means physically doing something for a fellow human we have encountered, giving of our time and our finances in their time of need, without prejudice, for the benefit of people who might not even like us and have no way of repaying. This is true mercy. You can note that he didn't take the wounded man to his house. There's no record of them becoming friends or of the man changing his mind about horrible Samaritans. It would be lovely to think so, but there are no expectations. There's just a merciful deed done. And our neighbors, those that are in our vicinity without Christ, are spiritually like that man, beaten up on the side of the road, destroyed by Satan and sin, left ruined, and we don't pass by on the other side and leave them to die when we have the opportunity to see to their eternal needs and to help them into a better place with the same level of compassion of the Samaritan by reproof. And the real hard part about this is realizing that not reproving our neighbors means we hate them. If we're not going to reprove them out of fear, we don't want to upset things, or for some sort of self-preservation reason, it's not love, and we are going to share in their guilt. And this is pretty convicting for me, I'm going to say. And the third part to this, we are to love our neighbors as ourselves, and how we love ourselves, don't we? Have you ever marveled at the violent rages of toddlers, raw, untamed humanity, when their self has been denied something it wants? The biting, the kicking, the screaming. Self is the default position that we have to grow out of. No man hates himself. He takes care of his own body. We have an ongoing plague of depression with many people saying they hate themselves, but I think it's more like a loathing, it's a shame, because we're failing to meet the image we have of ourselves, or the standards we've set for ourselves that we're aspiring to live up to, or standards other people have set for us. And this can come from envy and jealousy when we see what others have achieved or what they possess. But there's an antidote and a healing. A study from earlier this year finds that helping others reduces focus on your own symptoms. And people suffering from symptoms of depression or anxiety may help heal themselves by doing good deeds for others. The study found that performing acts of kindness led to improvements not seen in 2 other therapeutic techniques. Who knew? Makes sense to me. When we behave like that Good Samaritan, something happens to our hearts and we develop compassion. And we stop focusing on our selfish little narrow world. The love of God gets an opportunity to move in us, and it changes us as we obey this command. And we start to see people the way God sees them. We can see that we are our brother's keeper. I'm so glad you're here. What are your thoughts on this topic? I want to hear from you. So please leave your comments below. I'm here every week, so don't go without subscribing, because we all need inspiration. We need encouragement to stay in this race, to keep up a good pace. Have a great week, and remember to look for the blessings. They are all around you. Bye-bye.